That in your hand you hold a drop of water. You can move your hand slightly, and the droplet of water moves along the creases of your skin, along the bends and the curves of your cupped fingers. The droplet of water magnifies your skin as it moves. It catches the light and occasionally catches your reflection. Sacred water. Imagine letting the droplet of water move off your hand and into the earth, wetting the ground for just a moment before returning to the same earth that is holding you. It is speculated that after our Earth formed, it began cooling, and the atmosphere of Earth started getting steamy. Picture after a shower, but much more so. And that water began condensing, and this led to the first rainfall. And it rained a lot. Not just for days, but for thousands of years. And over time, that rainfall created rivers and eventually our oceans. Scientists say that we drink the same water as the dinosaurs. These bodies we live in, these bodies that are gathered here this morning for worship, these bodies are made up mostly of water. And it is mostly water that covers our sacred earth, the great connector. The stones you see here on the altar this morning are from a beach at the Pacific Ocean, gathered with love for all of you by me, one crisp afternoon as the waves crashed behind me. As water from that ocean evaporates, we eventually see it again as snow in the mountains by my home in the Sierras. That snow melt fills the beautiful Lake Tahoe, and Tahoe pours out to the Truckee River, running right by my house and onward to Pyramid Lake, where it eventually evaporates and moves east. And some of that same water rains down or snows on the Wasatch. And there, the snowmelt eventually fills our Great Salt Lake. In this way, we are connected to one another, our watery bodies to the watery bodies of the earth, interconnected and interdependent. Out of the mystery and wonder of the creation of the earth, we celebrate this morning the drops of life that make our very existence possible.
Good morning. I'm Tim Vandenack, and I'm serving as worship associate today. Welcome to a very special service and an annual tradition that happens in Unitarian Universalist communities across the United States and across the world. The Gathering of Waters ritual, or water communion. During this special ritual, Unitarian Universalists bring together water from a variety of meaningful places and gather the waters in one collective place, symbolically honoring our deep interconnectedness with one another. Whether you have brought water with you today, in person or online, or not, we will invite you to participate in this special service. The very first water ritual that began this annual tradition was held in 1980. In the 1970s, in the years leading up to the creation of the water ritual, UU women began voicing loudly the problem of sexism inherent in religion in general and in Unitarian Universalism. women were expected to be silent parts of Sunday morning worship in community life. And as was common, the language used in Unitarian Universalism talked about men and mankind and wasn't inclusive of all genders. So it was within this context that a new water ritual was created. It was designed and led by two women for a worship service for a national gathering of UUs, and was specifically created to offer an authentic and liberating ritual for all, but especially for the women gathered there. The original ritual was similar, with 8 women coming forward with water from a variety of sacred places and pouring the water into an earthen bowl. And during the ritual, water was seen not just as a symbol of connection, but as a symbol of empowerment. If you are a newcomer today, we're so glad you're with us. There's a newcomer card in the back pockets of the pews and in the link being shared online. And we'd love for you to fill one out so that we know you're here. Today's service will be interactive and should be fun and meaningful for people of all ages. If you find yourself needing some additional support for young ones, there's a basket with activities and things to do in the gathering hallway outside these doors. And if you haven't already, please put your phones on worship mode, i.e. silent. We are so glad each and every one of you is here. Now please rise in body or spirit for our opening hymn, which is number 6 in your hardback gray hymnals, Just As Long As I Have Breath. Again, number 6.
As we lit our chalice this morning, we traced the path of water as interconnected from the birth of our planet and the beginning of life through the natural movements of water along the earth and in our atmosphere. But this ritual of the interconnectedness of water would be incomplete if we did not also acknowledge the other realities of our relationship to water. The scarcity of water, the impact of climate change and pollution, and more. We know all too well the many stories of harm to this precious resource. Perhaps the most recent water news came out of this summer's Olympics in Paris. After decades of pollution, an effort was made to clean the Seine River to make it healthy for humans to swim in during the Olympic Games. But even after much work was done, during most days during the Olympics, Pollution in the Seine was still measured to be over healthy safety limits. It became almost a joke as the men's triathlon was postponed due to high pollution levels, and the women's swimming event went ahead, but some Olympic swimmers got sick. And so we add water to the collective this morning, symbolizing the efforts to heal the pollution we have caused, and also to acknowledge the hypocrisies in cleaning waters for national events, but not for our local communities. And there are countless horrific stories of accidental and purposeful harming of communities when a water supply is contaminated with chemicals and diseases and bacteria. And of course, those contaminated bodies of water don't just harm the people directly impacted, but they enter the water cycle itself. And so we pour waters for the reality that the ocean refuses no river, whether it is contaminated or not. With climate change, many communities are experiencing water scarcity, droughts and fires, and others are seeing excessive rain and tides rising and flooding. And so we add water today for the impact of our actions on a changing planet. And when water is scarce or polluted, or when people have unequal or no access, tensions can rise between communities and countries. Lack of clean water often leads to violence. Some might say that the lack of clean water is in itself an act of violence. And so we add waters this morning for the desperate measures that we take when our basic needs are not met. No new water is being created on Earth. It goes through the water cycle, it gets stored in aquifers, and it even gets dragged under tectonic plates, re-emerging when volcanoes erupt. We are interconnected and interdependent. The water from the Pacific Ocean is the water that flows by my home in Truckee, which is the water that snows on you in Ogden. Just as the water that people drink in Flint is the water that our children bathe in, which is the particles we breathe out when we exhale, which is the water the dinosaurs drank. We are all connected. This metaphor of water as interdependence is useful as we look at our current landscape. And I don't necessarily mean the physical landscape, I mean the world we're living in right now. Front and center on our minds over the last few months is this coming election. Elections inherently teach separateness and opposites, good positions and bad positions, sides and debates and winners and losers. And in the midst of this rhetoric, I know that we are all also exploring existential questions about the future of the country and humanity and our planet. And it feels tenuous and dangerous and scary and uncertain. And what I want to make sure that we in this community are doing over the next months, beyond getting out the vote and raising awareness about the issues, which are all, of course, important, what I want for us as this community is to find a way to be together that prepares our hearts and spirits for any and all outcomes in November and beyond. There are very few places outside of church communities like ours that make space for this kind of collective practice of being in the grief of existential threat and not knowing quite what we're going to do. We need spaces like this church community for that practice. And I think that we need to lean into that piece of our work together. Often when we talk about interdependence as one of our deeply held Unitarian Universalist values, what we mean is that we should take care of the earth and of non-humans, because we're in an interconnected web of life. That's what we usually mean by interdependence. Sometimes we mean that we should work for the justice of all people, because justice for some means equity and justice for all. And indeed, those are valid and truthful ways of looking at the value of interdependence. But I think that there is another metaphor that we can take away from this idea of water. There's another way that that metaphor of water teaches us about interdependence. And it gives us some skills for dealing with these times that we're in. Teacher and poet Thich Nhat Hanh described interdependence in The Heart of Understanding as interbeing. Interdependence as interbeing. And Reverend Jeff Briere paraphrases interbeing in this way. He says, take a look at your order of service. Everyone have an order of service in front of them? Take a look at your order of service, he says. If you're at home, maybe you have a piece of paper near you. And Reverend Briere says, in that piece of paper, do you see the cloud? Go ahead, take a look at your paper. He says, there's a cloud on it. Do you see it? If you look closely, you'll see, he says, that there is a cloud floating in the paper. The cloud is there because it condensed into rain. So the cloud is in the rain. The rain fell to the earth, and the rainwater was drawn up by a tree as nourishment. So the cloud is in the tree. And from the tree, we made this piece of paper that you're holding in your hand. And so the cloud is in the paper. If there were no cloud, there would be no rainwater. The tree would not grow, and we would not have paper. The cloud is essential for the paper to exist. And in the same way, nothing would grow without the sun. And so sunshine is essential for that paper. And the logger who cut the tree and brought it to the mill and transformed it into paper, if it hadn't been for the logger, this paper would still be a tree. The logger is essential for the paper to be here. And not only is the logger essential, but also the logger's parents, for without them, the logger would not have been born. You could go on and on. The trucker, the gasoline, the paper mill, the people, all part of the paper, which is the cloud. In this image of interdependence, everything coexists within that sheet of paper. The paper cannot exist by itself alone. And you probably have complicated feelings about some of the things that are an essential quality of that paper. Maybe the infrastructure of logging, or the extraction of resources from the earth. But there it is, all part of the paper and all part of the cloud. We don't exist separate from anything. We don't get to separate ourselves from the parts of our life that we dislike or the people we see as other. We are not separate. In our interdependence, we cannot separate ourselves from the yuck. We are not separate from the negativity we see, because it is a part of us too. And I say this not to downplay the importance of continuing to work for change and doing all the good things that we are out there going out to do, but to give us permission to breathe through the anxiety of the coming months. Part of our work as a spiritual community is to hold an expanded understanding of what it means to be interdependent, the beautiful and the not so beautiful, and to practice our capacity for holding the allness of what is. We need to practice our capacity for holding the allness of what is, without falling into despair or hiding out. Usually the message of interdependence is that we should go do good in the world. And I believe that that is still true. And I believe that we need to develop new practices for this expanded capacity for holding what is. not in dread and fear, but in presence and care and love. In a way, it is a practice of loving ourselves and each other, knowing that we are interdependent, and making way for us to be able to maintain hope. In the coming months, I hope that you'll make time and space for being with what is, for being with the isness of the times. Maybe each time that you take a sip of water, you will give yourself the space for being and holding the capacity for what is. And I don't know what exactly will happen for each of you as you engage in this practice. It might make space for grieving. It might make space for letting your heart open up a bit, or for making space for new ideas to emerge. Perhaps one way that we will become good ancestors is by making peace with the contradictions and complexities of our own bodies, of the people that we live with, and of the greater humanity and Earth. And through this acknowledgement, maybe we can find the strength to move forward collectively. The ocean takes all of us, all of our rivers, the pretty and the complicated, the appreciated and the ugly and the polluted. The ocean refuses no river. Today, you are invited to bring sacred waters with you. Water that represents places or things in your life that are special to you. If you haven't brought water, don't worry. We have lots of receptacles here that you can pour from to symbolize your special waters. You may have brought water from a sacred or special place, a place that you visited. Maybe it's from your home. Maybe it's just from the tap. Maybe it's from the bathroom in the bathroom here. So I just want you to take a moment of silent reflection to consider what the water that you've brought means to you, or the water that you will pour today, what it means to you. Think about what it will mean to pour it into the collective, to mix it in with the waters of all of creation, the waters of the harm that we've created. What will it mean to join your waters with that? And how does pouring it connect you with all life and all that life has created? I invite you to just take a moment. When you come forward, I'm going to invite you to just pour a few drops. It doesn't need to be the entire jug that you've brought, just a little bit of water from your container. And you can add your water without words, if that feels right. Or if you want, you might whisper a few words that describe what it is that you're feeling or the sentiment that you want the water to portray. We're going to be singing together. So not everyone will hear whatever words it is that you speak, but your sentiments will be held in our collective hearts. This water encapsulates all of us, all of it. Sacred and hurting, clean and polluted, scarce and flooding. May we gather all of the waters in a holy and loving reverence and hope. And as you come forward, we're going to sing again, "The Ocean Refuses No River." Joseph and the choir will help us sing it through once first, and then I invite you to come forward to pour your waters.
The ocean refuses no river, no river. The open heart refuses no part of me, no part of you. The ocean refuses no river, no river. The open heart refuses no part of me, no part of you. The ocean refuses no river. The open heart refuses no
Thank you, blessed water, for reminding us of our connections to one another, for symbolizing the collective pain and love of being alive. Sacred waters, we collectively bless you with and for the knowledge that we are interdependent and interconnected. In the months to come, may this water and all water help us to remember that. May we make space in each day to soak in the notion of being connected to everything that is. Like water at the birth of our planet, to the waters that drank from the dinosaurs that drank the waters that are holding our chalice, we are connected to everything that has been, including the stars. We are stardust, scientists say. May our commitment to taking time with that knowledge give us the space to grieve and to maintain hope and to open our hearts. I'm going to invite you to come forward again. This time to give and receive blessings for and from the water. And you may find as you come forward that you want to place your hand in the water carefully. But you might feel that you want to touch these waters. You might feel that you want to take just a little bit and place it on your hand or somewhere else on your skin and let the drop sink in. You may want to whisper blessings and prayer into the water, maybe for strength or gratitude or for health. And while you're here, you may want to also choose a stone to take home with you, a stone from the beaches of the Pacific Ocean. Each one of these stones that I've gathered changes color when they're touched by water, as if they're meant to always be connected to the ocean. And so I invite you, if you choose, to take one that represents the interdependence of these gathered waters. So whatever it is that your body and your heart and your spirit thirst for this morning, I invite you to come forward to give a blessing and receive a blessing of water and a stone. Please come forward.
ceaseless flow of endless time. No one can check or stay. We'll view the past with no regrets, nor future with dismay. The present slips into the past, and dreamlike melts away. The breaking of tomorrow's dawn begins anew today.
Elizabeth McClay offers, as drops of rain that find each other and build to become a track, a rivulet, a stream, a river, a sea, so are we drawn together. So are we fortunate to find each other. So are we bound together on this shared passage toward an unknown ocean and eternity. And much in the same way, each one of us contributes to a greater whole that moves from this point in time into the future. We don't always know how our gifts will erode, transform, or become something bigger, but together we change the shape of all that comes next. Often in our service, we will collect an offertory to contribute our gifts to that next shaping and shifting. This morning, we will have a basket at the exit back there as you leave. If you would like to contribute to the life of this congregation and thus the furthering of our mission, as always, we are very grateful for your generosity. We hope all members will stay after the service today for a very special congregational meeting. Next door. In this quick meeting, we will take two very important votes. We hope to have your voice present in each of these important decisions. One includes whether we will vote to ordain our minister, Kristen Famula. This is a special and sacred responsibility of congregations, and if we vote yes today, we will join in the privilege and responsibility of ordination in spring 2025. A congregation's decision to ordain someone represents the congregation's faith in and support for the ordinance ministry. We are thrilled to be invited to take on this responsibility and will be voting today whether to do so. Next week, a perfect follow-up to this service about the interconnectedness of water, our congregation will participate in the National UU Revival. And Chalice, would you please come up and tell us a little bit more?
Good morning, everyone. So next weekend, we will be joining UU congregations across the country and the world and participating in the environmental revival. And so we're going to have some special programming on Saturday, this coming Saturday, the 28th at 5 p.m. We will be hosting a potluck here in Geneva Hall. And everyone is welcome to attend. We're going to be doing a baked potato bar. So I'm going to be baking a couple bags of taters. And then if everybody could please bring toppings that they would like to share that you think would go good on baked potatoes. So that way this will be good for our veggies and carnivores alike. And then, or desserts if you'd like to share. I highly, anything chocolate related, obviously thumbs up for me. And so at this potluck, I'm going to be giving an overview of what our new RE offering will be for this fall. We are going to take the UUA's Environmental Revival Workshop Series, and we are going to be stretching this out into a 5-week offering on the third Sunday of the month, where we're going to be envisioning what we as a congregation can do to help bring about the environmental future of our dreams and how we as a congregation can contribute to that. And this will also tie in with our transitions and our reimagining of the UUCO. So I highly recommend. Also, Joan Gregory, who is she's the soon to be former head of the environmental ministry committee at First Church, will be joining us for that dinner on Saturday as well. She's going to share her firsthand experiences with her workshop experiences that they will be holding with First Church and South Valley that morning. So they're going to be doing the whole workshop in one morning. We're going to stretch ours out into Sundays, since that just seems a little bit more doable for our size. And then in addition, on Sunday, we'll be having our special environmental revival service. And so please come and attend that. Nita and I will be presenting. And the choir gets the Sunday off, and so they can just sit and relax, and we'll have some beautiful recorded music that is being provided by the UUA for us to hear as well, including a special hymn that was commissioned just for the environmental revival service. So I look forward to seeing everybody there next week. Thank you.
Thank you, Chalice. Now, our closing hymn, Blue Boat Home, number 1064 in the teal hymnal. That's 1064, and please rise in body or spirit.
Sun, my sail, and moon, my rudder, as I ply the starry sea, leaning over the edge in wonder, casting questions into the deep, drifting here with my ship's companions, all we kindred pilgrim souls, making our way by the lights of the heavens in our beautiful blue boat home. I give thanks to the waves upholding me, and the great winds urging me on. Greet the infinite sea before me, sing the sky my sailor's song. I was born upon the fathoms, never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home.
Will you please remain standing? Sorry. Keep on your toes as we extinguish our chalice and offer our benedictions. May these waters remind us that we are connected each to one another. The ocean refuses no part of us.
And may whatever good you received here today be spread like water droplets to all those you connect with in the coming week. Go in peace and in love.